Welcome back to Totem Pole Sports. Coach Hutchings here with Coach Old School at the Old School GOAT. We're talking about the other night's Memphis Grizzlies versus LA Lakers game that ended pretty ridiculously, in my opinion. Coach Old School's off to go get another one of these guys because I believe we got a LeBron James one on there. But we're definitely going to talk about the Shannon Sharpe altercation, and then we're going to talk about something that I find to be something that, I'm just against officials in all shapes and sizes and all forms and all sports. I don't think they help the game if they're making calls that really affect the outcome of the game. But first, we're going to talk about the Shannon Sharpe altercation on court and his apology as well. Got to respect the man for coming on and giving an apology, but I think in the long and short of it, you're still getting the views, Shannon. You're still going to get the clicks. You're still going to get the likes and all that stuff. And, no media is the only bad media in 2023. So, Coach, you watched that whole game. What was your thoughts on the Shannon Sharpe altercation with Ja?
Well, everybody knows that I am the oldest Ja Morant fan in America. This is my favorite player right here. Now, he is new school, but he is also old school. And at halftime, I'd fallen asleep and woke up after it had already happened. But Dillon Brooks was on his way into the locker room for halftime, and Shannon Sharpe, I like to call him Shannon Steroid, was yelling at him that he was too small to cover LeBron. Now, Dillon Brooks, I like him on defense. I do not like Dillon Brooks shooting the basketball. He thinks he is Steph Curry shooting the basketball, but he's a pretty good defender. Not as big as LeBron, but he could be a jerk.
Still 7 foot, 300-pound guy. I mean, he ain't small.
Steven Adams is 7 foot. Dillon Brooks is a little shorter, but
that's right, yeah.
Dillon went into the locker room, and when Shannon Sharpe was yelling at Dillon for telling him to go blank himself, big old Steven Adams. He's big Kiwi. He's from New Zealand. He's 7 foot and close to 300 pounds. He's 29 years old. People's talking about who would have won in a fight. Coach, you are a former pro wrestler. You are a former jiu-jitsu, MMA. Who would win that fight? Shannon Sharpe in his 50s or Steven Adams?
Steven Adams, hands down. Shannon Sharpe, it just would not go down well for you. Sorry. Not a chance at all.
And why is that, Coach?
Well, the size, the strength, the age. Shannon Sharpe right now is, he's a commentator. He's a pretty boy. He ain't training like those guys do. Those guys play an incredible amount of games every single year, and they play nonstop throughout the season, or when the season's not even going on. They don't take any breaks, so they're always in shape. And size matters most of the time. Now, I'm a fan. We could have a whole other tangent on that, guys like Bob Sapp. But most of the time when you're in shape and you have some guy challenging you that's down here below you, unless they know how to wrestle, they're not going to do very well.
And Steven Adams went over there. One thing he does is he protects his teammates. Now, Ja Morant had told Shannon Sharpe to sit his butt down. And people thought that was disrespectful of a 23-year-old to be yelling at somebody that's old enough to be his grandpa. But Shannon Sharpe was on the court, and he was yelling at his teammate. Ja took up for him. Steven Adams goes and gets in Shannon Sharpe's face. Ja comes over, and then the OG move of the night, T. Morant, the former teammate of Ray Allen from South Carolina. People were calling Ja and his dad a thug. They're not thugs. Okay, they're from the country. They're from South Carolina, in the country where they ride four-wheelers and they hunt. And he went up and came to the side, Coach, of Shannon Sharpe. Now, from your fighting expertise, why do you think T. Morant did that?
Well, part of it is angles, just in a general fight thing. But I was also a bouncer for 10 years. And when somebody's getting in somebody else's face, you coming from the side, you coming from the back, they don't see you. You're there. Really just if something pops off. You're not there to sucker punch somebody in the side of the head or anything like that. I think that's just lowbrow. But if something pops off, you're right there, and you're right there to jump on. If you're all face to face and everything like that, it's going to take the attention off of the one person. If you see somebody coming back this way, you don't even see what's going to happen. Now, again, it's not about coming back and just knocking somebody in the side of the head. Not fair, not cool at all. But if things were to actually pop off, you're in a much better position to be where you're at on the side instead of in front.
So a lot of people were talking on Friday night that the Memphis bad boys, as people call them, they don't like Ja Morant. They don't like the Memphis Grizzlies. And they said basically that they got punked out. They didn't fight Shannon Sharpe. I mean, nobody's trying to get arrested. And Shannon Sharpe is out there running his mouth on the court. And, a few years ago, he had said that fans should be eliminated and kicked out of the game for acting like that. And LeBron was asked about it after the game, and he said that Shannon was his dog and he was rolling with Shannon. But this guy right here, he gets people kicked out of the game all the time for talking smack to him. But when Ja Morant, the 23-year-old that everybody says hasn't won anything, well, I mean, he's only 23. He's been in the league 4 years, totally turned that franchise around. And it turned out that the argument started between Shannon Sharpe and Ja's daddy T, and they had to be separated. And Shannon Sharpe was not kicked out of the game. I believe that the Memphis Grizzlies had won 11 in a row. And, Coach, 17 seconds left. This guy and the other Hall of Famer, Russell Westbrook, Coach, tell everybody about what happened in that last 17 seconds.
LeBron shoots a three. Westbrook comes up, gets the rebound off it, puts it in. You're now down by one. And then the absolute, I don't even know what to call it. Again, referees can't stand when they either do too many calls or have a no call in a very blatant need to call situation. Grizzlies are inbounding. And the Lakers swarm and definitely foul. Next thing you know, it's a breakaway. They're up their score now. They're up by one, and they get fouled. Yeah, I like basketball. I watch it, but I don't really have too much stake in it. I'm more of the football world. I played for one season, wasn't very good. A lot of rebounds. We're not going to go into all those details. But the no call, I mean, it's clear as day. You can go onto any YouTube, watch it, see the arm get pulled. You can see him get shoved up against. And they just let it happen. And then they call the foul when he's taking the shot. And to me, again, where are you just picking and choosing these calls, right? And so for the Lakers to win with, again, up or down by 3 with 17 seconds left, and then at 12 seconds, that's when the no call happens, and then there's 7 seconds left, and then the game is pretty much –
and missed the shot. And Brandon Clark went up, and they called a foul on Brandon Clark. They were down by 2. Brandon made the first shot, missed the second one. Desmond Bane ran in there, grabbed the ball as he was going out of bounds. LeBron did a good job of getting in his way, and he missed the shot. And Shannon Sharpe stood over top of Desmond Bane and was pointing and talking junk to him. And then these two guys instantly, as the game was over with, these guys, they blew it. Okay, he did not play well. He did not shoot well on Friday night. They instantly embrace each other. Everybody, after the game is over with, respects this guy because he plays hard. No, we're not talking about this now, but last night these guys were down by 27 points in the third quarter, and they came back and lost by 2. And that's just the makings of a great team and a great franchise. But after the game was over with, they asked Ja to comment, Coach. And he said, well, I'll just let him lay over there. That's what he said about Shannon. And then Dillon Brooks was asked about Shannon Sharpe, and he called him a vlogger. I mean, I don't even know if these guys knew he played pro football. And he was jacked and went to Savannah State. He was a non-qualifier, and he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He was called a vlogger and a pedestrian. I mean, a pedestrian, somebody on the street, Coach, right? Dillon Brooks said that. Correct. What do you? How does that make you feel? These young fellers don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Sharpe. You look back to NFL of old, and still fairly recent in my mind. But these guys, I mean, they're young. They don't know who these players are unless they are big NFL football fans or football fans, and all they got is basketball is their thing. I mean, like I said earlier in this video, they are constantly playing the game. They're doing it during the season, and then outside of the season, they focus on basketball. There's nothing wrong with that at all. They're not looking at FS1 and seeing Shannon Sharpe on there and saying, "Oh, I want to be like that guy. I want to go back and look at all his videos from playing in the NFL." It doesn't happen. However, I will say I do like what's going on in the NBA. This stuff that happens where people are talking smack, I like it. It reminds me of the 90s.
It makes you want to watch.
Exactly. And, I love the sport. I love any type of competition. But when you add that extra little bit of, extra element to it, that makes it great. I remember when the NBA cracked down and made all the coaches wear suits and made anybody, if you did anything, you're ejected, you're gone, you're fined. No, take it back. Let them have fun. Let them talk a lot of trash. At the end, just like you said, hug it out.
And then today, Coach, we came into the studio and we wanted to see what Shannon Sharpe said. Coach, what did Shannon Sharpe say, and how did you feel about that today, about what happened Friday night?
Well, I'm glad that he did it, that he apologized the way that he did. And he didn't just apologize and say that, he said he was responsible and he's got to be a man of his actions and be responsible for his own actions. But he called out everybody that potentially had a hand in the situation and apologized directly to them. It was something like a 3.5-minute apology. And in the grand scheme of things, when you are somebody on TV and you've got your own show, part of it, in my view, is to get those clicks and get those views and get those retweets and everything like that. But, it does take a bigger man to apologize. And you look back to the video that we did a while back on Chip Bayless, right? Wasn't going to apologize for what he was saying. So I do think that Shannon is the bigger man. And I applaud him for that apology, to let it go the way it happened, the way he stood on the court, started calling people out. And then to him also say previously, don't do any of that stuff. Like there's no place for that in basketball. And then he goes ahead and does it. Well, he owned up to it. And that's what anybody in those situations should do. So I do appreciate it. But in the end, I'm not mad about it. I think it adds a little bit of extra fun and a little extra spice to what's going on in the NBA.
I mean, T. Morant and Shannon Sharpe, they embraced, I think it was the third quarter. They let bygones be bygones. I mean, everybody there's got money. Nobody wants the malice in the palace to happen again. In what do they call that arena now in LA? I can't even think.
They buy it out.
Had about 5 different names. But Shannon Sharpe, I respect you. I was a little upset with you on Friday night, but you make people want to watch. And that's why you are who you are and what you're doing. That's why people watch it. And for you to apologize and say that you were in the wrong and that you escalated the situation, that gets my respect. We need more people like you in this country that take accountability for their actions and say they're sorry. So Shannon Sharpe, I respect you and I appreciate your apology. And I can't wait until the next game when you're there. And here's another thing, Coach. Did this guy plant Shannon Sharpe on that court? And will other teams try to get in these young whippersnappers' heads and talk junk? Because, I mean, whatever happened, it worked. These guys lost the game, and Shannon Sharpe got them riled up.
Yeah, I think any team's going to do whatever they can to get the win. I really do think that that's the case. I mean, there's so much money that rides on all these different things, and the amount of money that comes into the players, to the stadiums, to everything that goes into the NBA just in general. They're going to do whatever they can to get in somebody's head. Now, I've been watching games, and fortunately, I've got the NBA League Pass, so I don't have to watch all these commercials. I get to see the Jumbotron and stuff like that. And they constantly, they say if you make any type of comments that are not appropriate, you're going to get kicked out, and you'll lose your ticket, and you'll potentially be arrested and get fines. I think that banter is part of the sport. I think that that's, there's a good way to talk trash and there's a bad way to talk trash. Now, I think going onto the court was the bad way, but if Shannon Sharpe stayed at his seat and was screaming and hollering, let him do his thing. I think it just adds to the element of the NBA and frankly, any other sport. I like to see it in golf. I think that would be fun as well too.
I totally agree, Coach. We're old school.
Yeah. Everybody's saying ba ba boo whenever anybody hits a drive. So anywho, I think there's going to be a lot of good things coming out of Memphis soon. I mean, they were on a 12-game win streak before that. So, people get upset. They say you're going to lose a game. Of course you're going to lose a game. It's the NBA. The teams don't win every single game all year long. Any other sport, teams typically don't win every single game. You're going to fumble a few times. You're going to not have the best night. You might not be feeling well. You're not able to make any shots from range. You might even not even able to get in the paint and throw up a layup that just magically wants to bounce out. these things happen. So I do think the Grizzlies are a team that is going to be, people are going to have a tough time with them as the season continues on. There's still a lot of time left before we even get into playoff time. I mean, we got months before that. So, Coach Old School, any final thoughts on the Ja Morant, LeBron James, Shannon Sharpe situation?
I think that LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, they stood up at the end of the game, and they stood out, and they made it happen, and they won the game, and my hat's off to them. And Memphis Grizzlies fans, we're almost spoiled now. All the people complaining about Taylor Jenkins and the head coach not knowing what he's doing, and Ja was off. But, our good friend, Coach Joe Mullinax from the Grizzlies podcast, he knows more about the Grizzlies than anybody. We need to get him back on here, Coach.
Agreed. So definitely check him out too, Locked On Grizz. He knows his stuff. Anything Memphis, he is on point. But Coach Old School, appreciate you for being here. Totem Pole Nation, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. We love the likes. We love the hate. We love everything. Like we said, we are all about any of the banter. Doesn't matter what it is. Have fun with it. But definitely check out our sponsor, Cultivate Wellness, naturally infused CBD edibles. They got capsules, they got tincture, they got all sorts of stuff for you. Definitely check them out. Give them a call. They'll discuss anything and everything related to CBD and endocannabinoid system. And Cultivate Wellness, cultivate with a K. And y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll check in soon.